Congress is racing against the clock to raise the debt limit, but it appears a deal won't come together before Monday night at the earliest. Yesterday, Senate Republicans blocked a measure to raise the debt ceiling with no strings attached, and the House rejected a request by Democrats to bring the Senate's clean continuing resolution bill up for a vote.
It doesn't appear as though the president wants anything except more tax revenue with tax increases yet again.
This is not normal. Our government is closed for the first time in 17 years. A political party is risking default for the first time since the 1700s.
Congress won't be in session Monday because of the Columbus Day holiday. The threat of a government debt default has some big business leaders questioning whether their voices are being heard in Congress. And now some are considering to help wage primary campaigns against Republican lawmakers who helped engineer the current standoff. It's an effort that could pit the business lobby against the Tea Party for control of the GOP. Is a GOP split brewing? That's what we're talking about this half hour, and we want to know what you think. You can join in on the conversation on our Facebook and Twitter pages. In our newsroom, again, we have our legal analyst, Chris Tritico, news analyst, Mustafa Tamiz, and public policy analyst, Jackie Bally. All right, what do you guys think about the in-party fighting?
I think you had to see this coming for a long time, Sally. The Tea Party is getting further and further and further to the right, and they are not listening to anyone. And these big business leaders are the people who are financing these campaigns. And, you know, the Republican Party gets a lot of money from big business, and they expect to have their phone calls answered when they finance these campaigns. They're not necessarily going to sway something, but they want to have some say or have their voice heard. And that's not happening with the Tea Party individuals that they're angry with. And that, if they do run the primary campaigns the way they're talking about, I think that may be, Mustafa, that may be the end of the Tea Party.
No, you know, I think that I've seen a lot of well-funded Republican establishment candidates lose to very low-funded primary Tea Party candidates, and that's been very consistent because the small narrow group called the Tea Party, people that identify themselves, really dominate the Republican primary vote. And so what you're going to see is the business community come out very aggressively, trying to back some moderate candidates, very unsuccessfully. So it'll be big money people losing to small Tea Party. And I think that is what Ted Cruz has brought us. He has taken us not only over the fiscal cliff, but he's taken the Republican Party off of the political cliff.
How does the Republican Party grow if they've got if they've pitted the Tea Party and the big business against each other?
Well, let me go back to the point that Mustafa was making, then I'll answer that question. I do think that, again, yes, the businesses are going to continue to throw money behind establishments. What you're seeing with the Tea Parties, they're extremely well organized. They run a very good, tight ship, grassroots, and they will continue to grow. The Tea Party will continue to grow. And you will see a lot of the conservatives, for instance, the Ted Cruzes and the Rand Pauls of the world. The Republicans who are coming out in the ranks, our new leaders, are Tea Party leaders. And it's a generational thing. It's an outlook.
Are they ever going to win?
Well, you saw Ted Cruz win. You saw
he
Rand
won
Paul
in Texas. Is Ted Cruz going to win a national race?
It depends on what race it is and who he's running against.
Well, look, I think that if the Republican Party continues to play to 28 to 30% of Americans and gets a majority of that vote, any candidate, that's great. They'll win in areas where gerrymandering has required them to win. But over the long haul, they're going to alienate 2/3 of Americans, and this is where this is headed. Now, this is a dangerous thing, not only for the Republican Party, but for the political system. We are a two-party system, and the Tea Party has created a third element, which is dividing the Republican Party so that we have things like this government shutdown.
All right, let me go to Sally. She's monitoring our social media. I couldn't say it.
Absolutely, and we have one of our viewers, Robert, who is basically piggybacking off of what Mustafa was just saying there. He says maybe we shouldn't rely on just two parties. Seems to me that there are more opinions than just right or left. 5 or 6 parties keeping each other in check would be better, perhaps. What do you guys think about what Robert has to say?
Well, you know, we always act like the United States is a two-party system, and it's not. It has developed into that because the one thing the Republicans and the Democrats seem to agree on is let's keep any other party from challenging us. But there isn't any law in the United States that says we can't have more parties. They just don't have any sway in the national politics. But what would happen if we had a viable third party to take votes in the House, seats in the House and seats in the Senate, and cause coalition governments?
Well, we're talking about the Republican Party right now because of the arguments that are going on with the debt ceiling and the government shutdown. But the Democrats also have fractions, and they have centrists, they have progressive, you know, they have divisions within their party as well. So let's be realistic. And I personally don't mind having my Republican leaders disagreeing because I would like to get different points of view. If they all just stood in line and agreed, what's the point of electing different people?
Isn't that what Ted Cruz is asking them to do? Well, what would it help the system if we had a viable third party with seats in the House and seats in the Senate?
It's very difficult. We're not a parliamentary system. We're not a system where we have multiple parties and then elect a prime minister. We elect a president nationally, and our party structure is a two-party system for many reasons, although it was not in the Constitution. But the way we operate and the way we function, it's a two-party system. What's happened is that, I mean, Democrats have different coalitions and have different gradations in how they approach politics, but I've never seen Leader Pelosi lose a vote. John Boehner couldn't deliver a baby if his life depended on it.
All right, we're going to have to leave it right there on the baby. Sally, that's it for today. We'll be back next week with the hottest stories of the week.
All right, we look forward to it. Thanks so much, guys. We appreciate all your insight this morning.